In 1988, William Post won $16.2 million in the Pennsylvania lottery. Within a year, he was $1 million in debt. His brother hired a hitman to kill him for the inheritance. His ex-girlfriend sued him for a share of the winnings. He was eventually arrested and jailed. He died in 2006, nearly broke, describing his win as a nightmare. In 2002, Michael Carroll won £9.7 million in the UK lottery. He spent it on drugs, parties, cars, and gold jewelry. 8 years later, he was back working at a biscuit factory for minimum wage. Evelyn Adams won the New Jersey lottery twice, in 1985 and 1986, total winnings of $5.4 million. She gave away enormous amounts, gambled heavily in Atlantic City, and ended up living in a trailer. These are not isolated cases. Studies consistently find that lottery winners have a remarkably high rate of bankruptcy, depression, destroyed relationships, and worse life outcomes than before they won. How does this happen? How does someone take millions of dollars and end up worse off than before? The answer reveals something profound about how wealth actually works, and it applies far beyond lottery winners. Let's start with what actually happens psychologically when someone receives sudden, massive wealth. The first problem is called sudden wealth syndrome. This is a recognized psychological phenomenon where the rapid acquisition of large sums of money creates disorientation, paranoia, and an inability to make sound decisions. Humans are not wired for sudden abundance. We make financial decisions based on mental models developed over years of experience. Those models are calibrated to our current financial reality. A person who has always managed limited money develops frameworks for scarcity. Spend carefully, prioritize necessities, be cautious. Sudden wealth doesn't update those frameworks. It just floods the system with resources the frameworks were never designed to handle. The result is paralysis, anxiety, and often a reversion to familiar patterns, even when those patterns are now completely inappropriate. The second problem is the reference group shift. Before winning, a lottery winner socializes with people of similar economic backgrounds. Their reference group, the people they compare themselves to and whose lifestyles feel normal, is working class or middle class. After winning, they feel pressure to shift their reference group upward, to associate with wealthy people, to live like wealthy people, to spend like wealthy people. But there's a critical difference between old money and new money that almost nobody explains to lottery winners. Old money, people who grew up with wealth or built it over decades, have frameworks for managing it. They understand how to invest. They understand sustainable spending rates. They have advisors they trust. They have seen wealth preserved and lost over generations, and they know what makes the difference. New money, suddenly acquired wealth, comes without any of that infrastructure. The winner has the resources, but not the knowledge, the habits, or the systems to sustain them. So they try to live like wealthy people based on what wealthy living looks like from the outside. Big houses, expensive cars, lavish parties, generous gifts to family and friends. But wealthy people who maintain their wealth over generations are not actually doing most of those things. They're investing. They're living on a sustainable fraction of their returns. They're building structures that make the wealth last. The third problem is the family and social network effect. This is arguably the most destructive force in lottery winner outcomes. The moment a lottery win becomes public knowledge, every person in the winner's life reappears with needs. Family members who haven't been in touch for years, old friends who remember their close relationship, distant acquaintances with business opportunities that just need some initial capital. The requests come with enormous emotional pressure. How can you say no to your own mother? How can you refuse to help your childhood friend? How can you not give your brother the loan he desperately needs? The average person has no framework for saying no to dozens of simultaneous financial requests from people they love. Wealthy families with generational experience have legal structures, advisors, and established patterns for handling exactly these situations. Lottery winners have none of that. They give, and give, and give, until there's nothing left to give. And then the same people who benefited from the generosity often resent the winner for finally stopping. The fourth problem is lifestyle costs that are impossible to sustain. A $10 million lottery win sounds like unlimited money. It is not. $10 million invested conservatively generates roughly 3 to 4% per year in sustainable withdrawals. That's $300,000 to $400,000 per year. A genuinely comfortable income, but not the unlimited wealth most lottery winners assume they have. Instead of treating the win as a capital base to invest and live off the returns, winners typically treat it as a very large checking account and spend from the principal. Every dollar spent on a mansion isn't just that dollar. It's all the future returns that dollar would have generated if invested. A $2 million house purchase doesn't just cost $2 million. It costs $2 million plus the $200,000 per year in investment returns those $2 million would have generated for the rest of your life. The true cost of the house over 30 years is closer to $8 million. Most lottery winners never think about it this way. They just see the balance declining and assume they still have plenty left, until they don't. The fifth problem is that money doesn't fix what people think it will fix. Most people who buy lottery tickets are doing so partly as an escape fantasy. This money will solve my problems. I'll pay off my debt. I'll stop worrying. I'll finally be happy. Research on happiness and wealth consistently shows that beyond a certain income level, enough to meet needs and have some security, additional wealth has very little impact on day-to-day happiness. The adaptation is rapid. The mansion feels ordinary within a year. The luxury car is just a car. The expensive vacation fades from memory like any other experience. Meanwhile, the money has introduced entirely new problems: family conflict, uncertainty about who your real friends are, paranoia about financial decisions, the pressure of managing a complex financial situation you were never prepared for. The things people actually wanted, security, peace of mind, good relationships, meaningful work, are not purchased by a lottery win, and the win often actively damages some of them. Now here's where this gets interesting and relevant to everyone, not just lottery winners. The lottery winner story is an extreme version of a dynamic that affects almost everyone who receives a sudden income increase, a big promotion, an inheritance, the sale of a business, a bonus. Smaller versions of sudden wealth syndrome appear whenever people receive more money than their current frameworks can handle. They spend it rather than invest it. They upgrade their lifestyle to the level the windfall suggests rather than the level their ongoing income can sustain. They fail to take the long view on what the money could do if managed properly. The lesson from lottery winners is not that money is dangerous. It's that wealth is a skill, and like any skill, it has to be developed. The money itself is neutral. What matters is the knowledge and habits and systems the person brings to managing it. People who build wealth over time, who invest consistently and live below their means for decades, develop those skills gradually. By the time they have significant assets, they've had years of practice managing smaller amounts. The frameworks are in place. Lottery winners get the assets without the practice, and the result, almost universally, is predictable. The three things that actually preserve sudden wealth, based on what the small percentage of lottery winners who do maintain their fortunes have in common, are these. First, they waited. They took no major financial action for at least 6 months after winning. No house purchase, no family gifts, no business investments. They let the emotional shock settle and used the time to learn and plan. Second, they hired a team, not just one advisor, a financial planner, a tax attorney, and a CPA working together. They did not manage the money themselves. They built professional infrastructure around it before touching it. Third, they stayed private. They told as few people as possible for as long as possible. Several U.S. states now allow lottery winners to remain anonymous for exactly this reason. The family and social pressure that destroys most winners is significantly reduced when fewer people know. These 3 steps sound simple. Most lottery winners don't do any of them because they're excited, because people are asking, because the money feels real and available and they've been waiting their whole lives to spend it. That gap between knowing what to do and actually doing it under emotional pressure is where fortunes are won and lost. And it's not a lottery winner problem. It's a human problem. Understand the psychology, build the discipline, make the money last. Thanks for watching.